What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. So thank you guys again for joining us for another live day trade. Pretty much what this video is going to consist about is pretty much going to be talking about my whole thought process during pre-market hours on how I analyze stocks to identify potential that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to make it very easy for you guys. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I do to end up deciding on what stocks that I'm going to be trading and how I perform technical analysis. So I want to thank you guys all for taking time aside and watching this live stream. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to subscribe. And a majority of the members that are going to be watching are a part of my group, TechBud Solutions. The link is provided for you down below if you guys would like to join. And pretty much I'm going to start sharing the screen so you guys can see how we have that integrated group chat as well as the TechBud Solutions platform. And then I'm going to go ahead and start doing those analysis. So right now it's 6:17 pre-market hours of the open. So let's go ahead and see. So this is pretty much the group chat that we have. This is just the main group chat. Pre-market, we have the swing trading, and we have a series of other different group chats as well. Once you get accepted to TechBud Solutions, on the top pin post, you simply click, see more. You agree to all the terms and conditions, and then you can decide to join any of the selected group chats below. But let's go ahead and get right to it. And it's going to be, what is it that I do to analyze stocks? So for those that are watching for the first time and want to know, how to properly identify stocks and identify potential, that's the whole thing as a day trader, right? So this is just my whole thought process. In no way does this mean that this is the only way, the exact way to do it. But pretty much, I love sharing, what it is that I do in hopes so I can enlighten, some knowledge and based on my experience, something that's worked for me. So this is the Thinkorswim TD Ameritrade platform. This is a free platform you can have access to. I made a video specifically on how you can download this as long as you live within the United States and you have a social security number. You don't necessarily have to fund your account for you to have access to this tool or resource, right? So I like looking at my watch list based on volume. So I click on volume, click it one more time, and then click it one more time. So from top to bottom, it shows the highest volume to lowest volume. So it shows that Snapchat is one of the biggest movers during pre-market hours based on the stocks that are on my watch list. One of the other things that I have going up is my PBP checklist, which is the Prime Berry checklist, which is going to help me analyze and filter out stocks. And I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. So we have 12 minutes until market open, so let's go ahead and get right to it. We talked about this one yesterday during our Sunday stock talk and talking that, Snapchat from this huge drop that it's had from, nearly highs of 24 to lows of 1707, that it's seen a consistent upward trend, and it's most likely going to slowly staircase all the way back up to where it was. So a lot of swing traders within our swing trading group chat, we're simply just holding this one and adding up or adding shares as it continues to rise. And I think that's a very smart thing. But also remember that if you are, trading this one, it could always take a sudden dip. So always remember that, you should have your stop loss set to minimize loss. Now I'm going to get a little bit closer so we can see exactly what's going on. Based on what I see the resistance at right now, 1065, as you guys can see, and we can get a little bit closer there. So as it comes up, right, peaks out at 1065, sees a downward trend. The support that we identified as a previous resistance is now a new support. And what I mean by that is if you focus right here, the resistance that it had as of Friday at around $10 or $19.50, it broke that resistance and is now a new support. And that's a very common trend that we're familiar with, right? It's, old supports become new resistance levels and old resistance levels become new supports. So now we have a new support from here to here. And the support is closer to the 1950 mark. It looks like we're already almost a little bit more than halfway there to the resistance. And I'm expecting, so now what's going to happen when the market opens, right? That's one of the biggest things that you have to plan for. Well, it looks like it's a better buy. Again, trading penny stocks is all about getting in at a good purchase price. Based on the current support and resistance, it's a better buy at around 1950, and it's a better sell around 1965. Again, but that's only 15 cents margin for profit. So what I would like to see is either a large pullback, meaning that, once the market opens, it ends up dropping, what I'm going to be looking for. But this is definitely one that I want to keep my eyes on. What I want to see is, let's see if it's done that before. So right as the market opens, it's bouncing between the support and resistance that it previously had. And right as the market opens, again, from this gray area, this is pre-market hours, and this black area is, when the market opens. It has a pretty nice rise, and then it has a nice little pullback. And this pullback, this bounce, is necessarily what you want to identify, and you want to get in at the bounce, meaning that you want to get in when it shows signs of upward momentum. You as a day trader want to maximize your profits but minimize your loss. So is it smart for you to get in right now around 1960? Well, not necessarily. Understanding that the resistance is at 1965 and it's already seen downward trend, and based on how it opened on Friday, it had a nice little pullback during right as the market opened. I'd say be patient, wait for it to set the support right as the market opens. But just know that it could also just spike up and see an upward trend. So if it does that, just know that a smart way in doing that, based on my experience, is to follow with the trailing stop loss. So if you see just huge signs of upward momentum and you're already in, then if you decide to move in, just understand that locking in profit is in a sense ideal as a day trader. You want to make sure that you follow with the trailing stop loss. But that's really quick. I'm going to set my alerts for snap and then move on to the next one. So I'm going to set my alerts if it breaks above 1065 or if it breaks below. And it's so funny, how it creates these resistance and it peaks at that point, and it's getting really close to that 1963. It's at 1963. It gets really close to that resistance, and then ends up falling back, down. But it doesn't mean necessarily that it's always going to fall back down. It could actually break, but again, you never know. So DGAS is one that, based on the current volume that it has, saw a really solid bounce as of Friday at 17. I'm going to go a little bit further back to see how it's been doing. So it's been on a consistent downward trend, and it's seen a solid bounce. Let's see. Okay. So it saw a consistent downward trend, bounced at 17, is now seeing an upward trend. Based on this, the current support or the previous support that I had around $19, it's currently at about 18.24. So if there's not a pullback during the market open, then we'd most likely see a resistance at that point. But just know that there was a previous resistance, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. There's a previous resistance right here around 18.53, as well as $18. So I broke the resistance at $18, and that's probably going to be the new support. But just know that there's going to be a resistance there, and this being a $18 stock, you need $1.80 to hit that 10% potential. Although this one does or has risen a lot from its bounce at $17, now up to 18.32, nearly 10%. I would most likely think that there's going to be a nice little pullback, and then that's going to allow for a good entry point. So I'm going to set my alerts and change the frequency so I can see it a little bit clearer. All right, current resistance 1940, breaks above. All right, and as of today, I'm going to be trading because of my Robinhood account for the $1,000 challenge. I'm still under the restriction of the PDT rule, just because you only can day trade 3 times out of the 5-day period. I'm going to be trading with my Fidelity account, so I'm going to be trading with about $3,000 every single time I trade, just because I have a little bit over now $30,000 within my Fidelity account. So that's why this, type of the title for this live stream is not actually, the $1,000 challenge, just because this is not going to be with the $1,000 account that I have within Robinhood. JNUG saw a consistent upward trend, and it's been, seeing that for the past couple of days. So I feel like JDST, if you guys are familiar with that, has consistently seen a downward trend, and it's pretty much doing quite the opposite of what was happening about 2-3 weeks ago. I'm not too sure if you guys remember, but let's see if I can actually go. It was JNUG and NUGT that was seeing a consistent downward trend. Now JNUG is making its way back up, and JDST was seeing an upward trend, is now making its way back down. So that's really just it for JNUG. Saw resistance at 1977, but has really been moving quite a bit, from 1951 to its current point. So I really want to wait for some pullbacks. It looks like it has a solid support there. So I haven't really seen anything that I really like. And what I mean by that is these stocks, especially for day trading, they're a little bit pricier and it's going to be a little bit harder to lock in profit. Let's see, IDXG. IDXG again being the next one up, has a solid support from 287, resistance at 13 or at $3.31. This could be one to look at. So support, I'm going to put an alert. And this is what I like to do when planning. So I know I only have 3 minutes until the market opens. It looks like it really has a resistance here at 13. So create alert when it goes back. So support, resistance, and then I just go here and I'm going to put IDXG. And then support is at $2.85. Resistance is at $3.20, way more than 10% profit. So this definitely can be one. If the market opens with a nice little pullback, again, it previously closed at $2.40. So if we can get a really nice drop while the market opens, RSI currently identifies it to be oversold or overbought. So I'd like for this to get a little bit closer to the oversold side. So then we can jump on in, see signs of upward momentum, and then set up a plan, jump on in, and sell at previously at what the current support is, around $2.88. So I think this is going to be a nice one to take a look at. Now let's go ahead and let's see AMD. When I looked at it this morning, it was doing very well. Again, let's see. Based on this consistent just upward trend that it has to make up to, I believe, the $13 or $14 mark, it's just consistently been seeing an upward trend. And that's really what we expected because of our analysis that we performed on it yesterday. Currently sees a resistance at around 1143. Let's see how it opened. It looks like on Friday when it opened, it saw a really nice spike, but then it saw a really nice pullback. And then again, it's all about identifying the support and identifying that it bounces, showing signs of upward trend, jumping on in, and then selling at where it usually peaked at, and then it drops back down. So what I'm kind of expecting is, I wonder if during pre-market hours it set the tone, but no, it really didn't. So maybe we can get some really good action and get back to that above $12 mark. So I'm gonna put AMD because I think this could be a good one as well. So AMD current support would be 1115. Resistance is 1150. Let's see what you guys are saying. Alrighty, looks like you guys are just having your own conversation within the chat room or within the live chat. I'm going to perform one last one, and then the market's going to open. So NAK. NAK, we talked about this when we talked about the support that it had at above 185. It looks like it held. Oh, market opened. Snap is moving up. IDXG is 310. Let's see. So MTBC is having a nice little pullback from highs of 217. Support. Whoa. All my alerts are getting set off, as you guys can see. So IDXG is at 307. So again, it is dropping. Snapchat is at 1955. Isn't dropping much. JNUG is actually rising, so I believe it broke the resistance. MTBC is climbing back up. Current buyers at 210. Resistance at 213. Let's see. And again, the first 15 minutes to 30 minutes of the market open are going to be your most volatile and most active, minutes. So be sure to take advantage of that. Um, Whoa. So it looks like it's really wanting to bounce for MTBC. Yeah, it's really picking up. All right, I'm gonna get in on MTBC. Right. It looks like it has a pretty solid support around 210. It did go a little bit below 210, so what my plan is going to be is I'm going to bring it on over right here. Again, I'm going to put MTBC. The current price is around 211. Support is at 210. Resistance, based on the previous resistance that it had right now, it's currently around 217. Realistically, the resistance, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be around the 230, first 220 and then second 230 area. So I'm going to put the 230. And my stop loss is going to be at 209 to minimize my loss. So MTBC going to be around 211. Stop loss is at 209, right below the support. Let's see. Alrighty, give me 1 second. Right now, there's current buyers at 213, so it's seen a solid upward trend. Um, right now, it's at 218, 222. We like this one's doing a solid bounce. 220. Will it break that resistance? Yep, 224. Wow, that had a pretty big drop. Let's see. NAK is actually doing very well as well. It looks like there's the resistance at 224, 225. So dropping back down. Good amount of sellers. And again, MTBC, although it sees like really healthy amounts of volume and really, nice spikes, just know that it's extremely volatile. So if you are up, you want to make sure you lock in the profits. So I ended up not being able to get in on MTBC at the price that I wanted. I really wanted to get in at 211. It just went up a little bit quicker than I expected. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna put my alerts if it breaks above it. But I hope this, in a sense, alert that for those that were trading live with me, actually benefited from this. So I hope that helped you out. It's more of that 211 now mark. But now that it's seen a downward trend, is it going to drop? Let me see. Let's see. Has its support still at 211. I'm going to come right back to it. NAK opened pretty strong. It hit its resistance at 195, had some nice little pullbacks. Previous close was around 185, 180. And this is one that had the potential to move back up to its previous resistance. It was around $2 and $2.15. So I just thought that this would be a good one to possibly take a look at. And, again, AMD opened, had a nice little spike, had a huge pullback. This is what we're talking about, that you want to identify, this drop, get in at the drop, and then ride it back up to where it was. Although this is a pretty, or a little bit more of an expensive stock, so that drop necessarily isn't going to benefit you too much, but at least it shows that you got in at a better purchase price. So if you can see, this drop shows that it was below the 30 RSI, which means that it was oversold. Again, identifying a good buy, but it's been, moving. It's already past that. So I'm just going to put my alert if it drops below that point again. FTR. Now, volume is way too low, and you can just tell because of how this looks. It has a solid support at around 120, but it has consistently seen a downward trend. So if you don't see an upward trend, and again, although it is at a low price, why get in if you're seeing a downward trend? You would rather want to see an upward trend and then jump on in from there. So I'm just not seeing that yet. Let's go back to MTBC. I think it's at 219 around there. 219 to 212. It has a huge margin. I can see where people are buying and where people are selling, and this just margin is way too big. It needs to meet a little bit closer, and it looks like it's doing that. There's now buyers at 214, which is causing the price to go in. I still haven't gotten filled. I'm still waiting. Let me go ahead and see. I'm actually going to replace the order. I changed it from 211 to 212, hoping that I get filled. I should have done that probably a little bit earlier. Looks like there's more sellers now. Instead of it to the 220, it's seen a more of a resistance there. Volume again is slowly dying out as we get a little bit more into the market. I want to hear what you guys have to say. It looks like you guys are helping one another out, which is really cool. Let's see. All right. You guys looking good. MTBC. Yeah, it looks like you guys are all doing your own thing. So good job with that. Current support looks to be around the 214, 215 area. Again, I have my plan. So I have my plan that I plan on getting in around 211 to 212. Cut my losses right below the support at 210. The reason I'm going to do that is because you always want to make sure you minimize loss. That's one of the biggest things. If you guys learned anything, from trading, is the only way to stay in the green is if you guys can make your losses less than what your profits are, right? Minimizing loss and promoting growth. So in the past, couple of days, it looks like it's had a pretty solid support at around 210, and those times that it does fall below 210 ends up dropping to like 205, 202, and that's just way too low of a support. So I'd rather cut losses short and then jump back in at the bounce at a lower price rather than writing it all the way down and hoping for the best. So I think that's definitely a key trend to make sure that you learn at an early stage, and the importance of planning. And what I mean by that is every time that you're trading, you should know what it is that you're trading, as in like where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you're going to cut your losses, because that's really what's going to separate you from like the 90% of people who end up losing money in the stock market all the time because they just go based on someone else's opinion. If you understand that, based on a simple 2-day analysis, that 210, when it breaks, during pre-market hours, as of right here, 210 tends to be a pretty solid support. 224 to 220 tends to be a better resistance. Again, we're talking about a $2 stock. To lock in 2.33% growth A day necessarily as our target growth isn't necessarily unrealistic, especially with this plan that we have set up. For those that were able to get in around 209 and sell at 220, that's about, what is that, 13%, 14%, or 15%, or 15 cents of profit for a $2 stock. So necessarily that is nearly that 10% profit, way more than that 2.33%. And we do that by simple planning and knowing where we're buying, knowing where we should sell based on previous resistance, based on previous peak points, and cut losses just in case it doesn't go according to plan. So it actually looks like MTBC is dropping back to that 212 area. I have still not gotten filled, so I'm still waiting up on that, and I will let you guys know. But I guess today's live stream isn't necessarily like kind of how it was as of on Friday. Friday we had a very interesting day because it was NAK that we were trading, and right as we jumped on in, everything went according to plan, and we were up instantaneously. And a lot of you guys were able to get in from 220, sell at 236, which is amazing, and I'm really glad that you guys are able to benefit from that. But again, understand that every time that you guys trade, you don't have to day trade every single day, right? If whatever it is that you're identifying or whatever it is that you're analyzing and you don't see potential and you don't identify, none of the stocks are really fitting your need. The whole point of that prime berry pick checklist is so you guys can identify potential in a stock. If you guys perform your technical analysis on a series of stocks and you're like, what the heck, nothing looks good at the moment, then just analyze and watch. There's no reason to force a trade, right? It's like buying and selling a car. Why would you force a purchase of a car if it's not everything that you want it to be to sell for a profit, and then just can still buy it just because you want to and end up taking a loss on it? It's the same thing with trading. I feel like people just don't view it as the same thing because it's nothing like really tangible when it comes to buying and selling these different stocks and stuff like that. But again, the whole point that you're buying these stocks are for it to appreciate and sell for a higher value. And if you're analyzing these stocks and based on you being a day trader and based on the past 2 days, you don't identify potential, then don't force the trades, right? There's no reason you should feel uncomfortable or feel overwhelmed. And just take a step back, analyze, network with other people within our group, and see if anything pops up. There's nothing wrong with taking a step back and making sure that you only trade quality stocks because you are a quality investor. And that's, very important, I think, for you guys to learn at a very early age that you shouldn't force anything when it comes to investing, because if it's not time, it's not time. So I'm going to go back to share my screen. And if you guys like this type of video of my live stream, again, this is a kind of new thing that I've been doing within my group. Feel free to give the video a thumbs up. And I'm pretty much going to end it in about 6 minutes, just so I can let you guys get completely back to your trading and I don't bother you guys. But we're at that 212 area. And again, have I gotten filled? Nope. So the reason, and let me talk about this. People might be asking, well, why have you not gotten filled if the price is at 212? And my limit order is at 212. Why have I not gotten filled? Well, the reason why is because there's only sellers at 215, meaning that they have their limit orders to sell at 215. Therefore, because of that, no one is actually selling at 212. Only people that sell at market order will sell at 212, and obviously not a lot of people are there. And it looks like now there's a buyer at 213. So with that, now it's going to go between the average of 213 to 15, and then this market price is most likely going to change to 214 or something like that, right? Does that mean that people are buying at 214? Well, no, people are only buying at 213, selling at 215. So no one's actually buying anything, and this is where volume really starts to die out and go from there. So now it's at 212.01, but just wanted to explain that to you. This is the SMA indicator. So SMA, usually this is just how it moves. And this blue line, you always want to make sure that you catch a stock on the rise, meaning that it's above this SMA line showing signs of upward momentum. Let me give you a better example of this. So Snap broke the resistance and then came back down and is now 255. And if you see, no, I guess this isn't a very good example. AMD would be a good example since it's seen a consistent upward trend. AMD for sure broke the resistance. Again, right as the market opened, it had a nice little pullback. Why did I know that it was going to do that? Well, it tends to do that pretty often during its market opens, and I hope that helps some of you guys out. We identified the support at 11:30 because of the previous resistance it had at 11:30, and that played out perfectly. Getting it at a good buy point, and now riding it back up, and most likely selling around the 11:60 area, as that's where the resistance is going to stand based on this current trend. Again, not 100% sure, but just based on the trends on how it's been rising, that would be a nice little resistance or a good sell point, right? Especially from this, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. No, let me click when I calculate the margin for profit. It's about it's 2.69%, so definitely a good buy. But let me go ahead and get right to this upward trend. So you see how it's been seeing a consistent upward trend. This SMA indicator is, usually when it crosses above this these blue lines cross above this red line, that shows signs of upward momentum. And as it continues to bounce, it means that it's continuing to see a sign of upward trend. And then when it crosses below, as it did right here, that would, in a sense, identify a good sell. So you should sell there. It sees a huge drop, and then you can buy back when it goes above the EMA line. So you usually want to buy when it goes above EMA or SMA, and sell when it drops below. And that's really just it. So, I mean, I might just be looking at a swing trade. I have a pretty busy day for me today, so AMD doesn't seem to be a bad one to analyze. Again, the previous resistance was at 1144, so I'm guessing that's going to be where the new support's going to be. So I'm going to put my alert there and kind of go from there, since nothing is really going according to plan, and I'm not getting filled on MTBC. So if the volume continues to die, yeah, it's just getting a little bit too close, and there's now sellers here at 213. So yeah, I'm actually going to cancel. All right, canceled my order, and it's most likely going to be at that 212 area. But again, why get in? And you know how I just talked to you guys about EMA and SMA, right? Well, right now, based on currently where MTBC stands, if you see this line when it bounced here at around the 206 area, it started showing signs of upward trend. And then right as it got down to this 214 area, you could see that it crossed this SMA line and started seeing a downward trend. And that's definitely something that you want to avoid. So again, my indicators are showing that it's now going to see a downward trend. The RSI indicator doesn't show to be an extremely good buy. So I'd rather wait for a solid drop, possibly to the 206, 202 area, and see if that would be a better purchase price. Maybe getting in at 202, cutting losses anything below $2 and riding it back up and selling it, at this current resistance at 212. Or if the volume is just right, then maybe around 220. But definitely just isn't going according to my plan. So let me see if anything else pops up before I have to sign out, guys. So AMD, Snapchat, VRX, FTR. FTR did move quite a bit, right? Yeah. So FTR bounced from 119 to 125. And 125, as you guys can see, based over here during pre-market hours on Friday, that was a resistance. So that would identify itself to be a good sell point. So for those that are in at FTR, just be aware of that. There's nothing wrong with following a trailing stop loss, but it looks like it already peaked and is now seeing a bounce between 205 or 220, 125 to 124. All right, DXG. Actually, just like we predicted, that it's going to have a nice little spike, a nice little pullback. It set its support, but again, is it going to bounce and continue to see an upward trend? Well, right now the current support is around 270. It looks like it's flatlining around 276. It would have been a better purchase price to have gotten in around the 260, 270 area. And as you can see, the RSI indicator showed that that was a good buy, being nearly at 24 cents. SMA line is still showing a sign of downward momentum. So there's nothing wrong with being patient and waiting for it to move on up. It looks like it is trying to curve up and hopefully cross this SMA line, but it still hasn't done so yet. So that's definitely something that we're gonna have to follow up on. But if it breaks this resistance at 280, I'll set my alert there. That's most likely meaning that it's gonna show signs of upward trend. and go from there. Let's see. Back. Now, one of the things I also do want to focus on are the red stocks. I like trading red stocks. The reason why is because they build the biggest margin for profit. So this is just something that we'll take a look at real quick and see which one sees the highest amount of volume. So iCloud saw a pretty, or ICLD, ICLD, but again, this is a true penny stock. Definitely don't want to look at this one too much. Again, was at 3 cents, nearly 1 cent, and is showing signs of an upward trend. It built this gap, and this is why this becomes so desirable because it has this huge drop, and then what you want to wait for is for a bounce, right? And when it creates this bounce, now it has this margin of profit to come back up to where it previously was, and that's nearly 40% if it simply goes back to where it is. So if you simply get in at the bounce and you get it when it's showing signs of upward momentum like it is now, the RSI indicator showing that it's a good buy. SMA is now showing that it's a bounce and it's about to cross above SMA. Only shows that you can get in at a good bounce, ride it back up, and lock an amazing amount of profit. But our OTC group within TechBudget Solutions, I think, would be a great group to join to be talking about these series of different stocks. I'm sure they were throwing ICLD around just because of the huge drop that I had, and they're the ones that focus on OTC stocks. So obviously this is an OTC stock, and a series of other true penny stocks. And Bradley Smith is one of the group leaders there, so he's a great guy to reach out to if you guys have any questions. Tesla, what the heck? Lost 3% today. So for those swing traders, it looks like there's a support right around this 312 area. RSI indicator is showing that it's not necessarily a bad purchase price. So if I'm thinking about a day trade, let's see how this can play out. Well, if I get in now and it goes back to where it was, that's about $15 worth of margin for profit. So let's calculate that. That's about 3.82% from where it was. So actually, this doesn't necessarily look like a bad buy. Let's go a little bit further back, and wow, it had this huge margin of profit because of this huge rise that it had, and it looks like it just had a solid drop this morning. But the drop should actually be around 309. I'm actually going to get in, and I can get in on this one. We were talking about, and again, you guys definitely don't have to follow me, and I would not suggest to follow me if you guys don't understand this, but pretty much what we're talking about is I'm all out of day trades, right? With this $1,000 challenge, I'm all out. This is going to be hard to trade with the $1,000 challenge when you could only afford 2 shares. Let's see. All right, 2 shares, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, I got filled. I guess I could have gotten in at a better buy point, but pretty much I got filled at 1391. I'm sorry, 31291. Right now, I'm up, right, necessarily, but again, not much. And really, this is what I meant by, when you're not day trading, right, you only have 3 day trades at a 5-day period. If you have a Robinhood margin account, a way that you can overcome that is because Tesla is obviously not a penny stock. It's a little bit more of a reliable stock. So if you want to swing trade, meaning that you buy one day and you sell the following day, so not a day trade, and you identify potential, you stick to your plan, meaning that you still need to minimize loss and sell for a profit. Just know that you're not going to be able to do that within the same day. So something that I've been asked before is like, what do you think about swing trading when you can't day trade? Well, definitely, obviously, if you identify potential, just like I personally identified potential with Tesla because of this margin of profit that it built, that I believe was 2.3% or 2.6%, is something that I'm willing to take a risk because I feel like my margin for loss isn't as great as my margin for profit. So I think my margin for profit when it comes to Tesla and that simple analysis that I performed is a little bit more realistic. So again, this is pretty much what I was talking about. Had this, nice little pullback, created a support around 1312.71. and it saw signs of upward momentum, nearly back to 316, and then dropped back down, and is now seeing signs of upward trend. So it really comes down to seeing signs of upward momentum, and then going from there. But it again, very simple concept, but it's those simple things that I think are very difficult for people to perform because of how difficult it is to stick to your plan. So my plan is to buy in around where I did right now, about 312.91, and sell anywhere back on previously where it was around 325 to 324, and that margin for profit, if I'm calculating it properly, is about 3.82% if everything goes according to plan, or 3.7%. And I'm up necessarily about 2 or 0.27%. So again, not a crazy amount, but I'm swing trading, and I'm just giving myself a bigger cushion for the days to follow with this $1,000 Robinhood challenge, especially with the really bad week that I had last week. Hopefully I can build a good, just in a sense, cushion for myself to get back on track. And if you can see, this SMA indicator showed that it had a solid drop, but then crossed above SMA, so showing signs of upward momentum. The RSI indicator is showing to be just at that perfect point, 314. So I'm up $1, or up, what is that? Since I only got filled with 2 shares, I'm up $3.68. Again, nothing crazy, but being in the green is being in the green. Wish I could have bought a little bit more shares, but that is it. Let me go ahead and kind of go from there. So it's at 315, so it's actually climbing pretty quickly. I actually expect it to probably come back up to this 318, as that's going to be, based on the resistance that's our pre-market hours. It's most likely going to be where the resistance is going to lie. It looks like I went a little bit over on my time. I'm going to follow up with MTBC. And you see, this is why, I wasn't feeling it after it just wasn't moving the way I did. This is why I ended up just staying away from it. It looks like that support that I talked about at 205, 206 was a pretty solid support. And the reason I knew about that support was previously on Friday, that's the support that it had. So it wasn't that I could predict the future. It's simply just because I like looking at trends, and I like, seeing what happened before and what could possibly happen. Usually when it breaks the support around 210 to 211, it comes back down to this 205. And then if it breaks that support, it can go down to 202. And then if it breaks that support, it has a huge margin or gap that it could fill. So hopefully some of you were able to get in from 206. Now the new resistance is going to be obviously at 210, as old supports become new resistance levels, and really go from there. But I'm glad I didn't end up sticking to my limit order, because I just saw these different indicators showing that it wasn't necessarily a good price. But AMD, let's see, FTR. But yeah, guys, that's it. I'm going to continue. I'm going to follow with my alerts, and I hope you guys like this video. If you guys found it helpful, again, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. But I find it very useful to be able to talk to you guys, through the live trading chat, as well as being able to communicate with you guys within the TechBud Solutions group chat. So if you guys aren't a part of that already, again, the link is provided for you down below if you guys would like to join. We're sitting at a little bit over 17,000 members now worldwide. And the thing that we do best is sharing best practices, sharing mistakes, and effort to promote growth, right? We provide a very welcoming community for both new and experienced traders, and I'd love to be a part of your success any way that I can. So let me know what it is that I can do for you. Once you get accepted, feel free to DM me if you guys have any suggestions on what it is that I can do to further assist you, right, with getting into trading penny stocks, or if you guys have any specific questions. I do want to make sure that all those that are in the live chat right now within this video, just move it on over to the TechBud Solutions group chat so you guys can continue your conversation, just so I don't cut you guys off. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and like always, let's make sure that we end the week on a green note. Take care, guys.